everyone. In yesterday's class we had seen about antihypertensive agents. In antihypertensive agents we had covered up to ACE inhibitors, angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, and followed by angiotensin 2 receptor antagonist. Okay, up to that point we had covered. Okay, these are the other structures of antihypertensive agents belong to some other categories. This was also finished in last class, and this is about mode of actions of various categories of antihypertensive agents. And various adverse effects. And central sympatholytic agents, coming to the next drug belong to the category of central acting sympatholytic agents. The first one is methyl-dopa and the next one is called clonidine. Okay, in the clonidine structure, if you see, the basic nucleus is imidazole. Imidazole means they are having 5 member rings. In 2 nitrogen atoms are there. This is 1 and this is 2. Okay, in imidazole structure 2 nitrogen atoms are present at first and third position, and they are present in 5 member ring. Imidazole is the basic nucleus, and this imidazole is attached with another aromatic ring with the help of nitrogen. This is the structure of clonidine. Coming to the mode of action, it is also belong to the category of central acting sympatholytic agents. So here it acts mainly by stimulating alpha 2 adrenergic receptors. In the last class I discussed, by stimulation of alpha 2 adrenergic receptors which are located in presynaptic region, uptake of catecholamines takes place. Okay, thereby it reduces the sympathetic outflow and noradrenaline release. So in that way we can reduce the sympathomimetic catecholamines induced hypertension. Coming to the adverse reactions, sedation, drowsiness, dryness of the mouth and nose, constipation and bradycardia. Coming to the uses, this clonidine, like methyl-dopa, it is also used for treatment of moderate to severe hypertension and for withdrawal therapy of alcohol opioids. And next, to diagnose pheochromocytoma. Pheochromocytoma is a tumor in the adrenal gland. Okay, for diagnosing pheochromocytoma we can use clonidine drug. Okay, this is about synthesis of clonidine. For synthesis of clonidine, we should require 2,6-dichloroaniline. First treat this 2,6-dichloroaniline with ammonium thiocyanate, that is NH4SCN. So on treatment with this ammonium thiocyanate, here one hydrogen is substituted with this thiocyanate molecule and we will get this intermediate. Next we are treating this thiourea derivative with methyl-iodide. So on treatment with methyl-iodide, this S is converting into SCH3. Then it is treated with ethylene diamine. Ethylene diamine means CH2, CH2, NH2 twice. Okay, and this intermediate is called thiouronium salt. On treatment with thiouronium salt, we will get this intermediate. See here, this ethylene diamine is introduced in the place of SCH3 group. Okay, then on heating this compound, 1 mole of ammonia is eliminated and ring closing occurs. We will get this clonidine structure. Okay, we can write the clonidine structure in two ways. This is one way, and another one is this double bond is entered into the ring and we will get imidazoline derivative. Okay, you can write these two resonance structures for clonidine. Coming to the next category, adrenergic neuronal blockers. Okay, adrenergic neuronal blockers means it blocks the adrenergic hormones or adrenergic compounds. See, drugs that reduce blood pressure by depressing the activity of the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, sympathetic nervous system stimulation causes release of noradrenaline and adrenaline. So we can inhibit the concentration of adrenaline, noradrenaline either by stimulating alpha 2 adrenergic receptors, that is nothing but central acting drugs. Another one by blocking adrenergic neurons. Okay, from adrenergic neurons only these hormones are secreted. So these are also useful for treatment of hypertension. How these adrenergic neuronal blockers exhibit their action means by using these four mechanisms. First one is called depletion of neurotransmitter storage. If you see the scheme for synthesis of catecholamines, the stored catecholamines, first the catecholamines are synthesized in the storage vesicles and they stored in storage vesicle in ratio of ATP. Okay, so after synthesis they undergo metabolism in presence of enzyme called monoamine oxidase. Whenever it reaches an impulse or whenever entry of calcium ions occurs, triggering of one storage vesicle with another storage vesicle occurs, then by exocytosis process all the synthesized stored catecholamines were released into the synaptic cleft. Okay, that is the process. Here first step is by depletion of neurotransmitter storage. Okay, so here we can decrease the concentration of synthesized catecholamines in the storage vesicle itself by improving their metabolism. In the cytoplasm, monoamine oxidase enzyme is there. With the help of that enzyme, we can convert that catecholamines into inactive components. That is one way. Another one, reducing number of impulses traveling in sympathetic nervous. Okay, we can inhibit the impulse. Third one, antagonizing the actions of neurotransmitter on the effector cells. It means we are giving a drug called antagonist. It means we inhibit the binding of agonist with the neurotransmitters. So thereby we can inhibit the actions exhibited by neurotransmitters like adrenaline and noradrenaline. And last, inhibiting neurotransmitter release. Okay, it means it prevents the release of neurotransmitters into the synaptic cleft. Okay, by using any one of these mode of actions, these adrenergic neuronal blockers exhibit antihypertensive effect. The examples for adrenergic neuronal blockers are reserpine, guanethidine and guanabinch. The first drug is reserpine. Okay, coming to the source for reserpine. This reserpine is a natural compound and it is an alkaloid obtained from a plant called Rauwolfia serpentina plant. Okay, reserpine is an alkaloid obtained from roots of Rauwolfia serpentina. This is a natural compound. Along with reserpine, these compounds called resinamine and desperidine are also obtained from Rauwolfia serpentina root part of the plant. And this is the structure of reserpine. It is having mainly indole nucleus. This is called indole. Benzopyrrole is called indole. And one more thing, this is trimethoxybenzoic acid. Coming to the mode of action, how the reserpine exhibits antihypertensive effect is, reserpine depletes catecholamines from the storage vesicles. How it depletes means by improving metabolism. In the cytoplasm, monoamine oxidase enzyme is available. By enhancing the metabolism, we can decrease the concentration of catecholamines. So it depletes catecholamines and serotonin from the central and peripheral neurons by interfering with uptake of catecholamines from cytosol into the vesicles and the granules. Okay, whatever the catecholamines synthesized can undergo metabolism by monoamine oxidase. That is one way. Another one, by uptake with the help of alpha 2 receptors, uptake of catecholamines occurs. So the uptaken catecholamine again undergo metabolism with the help of monoamine oxidase. So in that way we can deplete the concentration of catecholamines from the central neurons and peripheral neurons. Next, norepinephrine cannot be stored intraneuronally in adrenergic neurons. Next, much of the norepinephrine in the cytosol is metabolized Next, binding of reserpine to the storage vesicle membrane results the storage granules to destroy. Okay, whenever drug is binding with the storage vesicles, okay, storage granules, the composition or the property of the storage vesicle membrane is altered and damage of the storage granule occurs, or damage of the storage vesicle membrane occurs, which results in release of catecholamines, and the released catecholamines undergo metabolism by monoamine oxidase, and finally it results in destruction or depletion of catecholamines. And one more thing, it greatly reducing the ability of the nerve to concentrate and store norepinephrine. It finally decreases the concentration of catecholamines in the synaptic cleft either by inhibiting synthesis or by interfering in uptake of catecholamines from cytoplasm into the vesicles and granules, or intraneuronally by improving the metabolism of monoamine oxidase. Okay, by any one of the mechanism it can decreases the concentration of catecholamines in the synaptic cleft. And here this is the structure of reserpine. Already it is having indole nucleus and trimethoxybenzoic acid, and this reserpine undergo metabolism. Here ester linkage is there, now this ester linkage undergo cleave and it gives methyl reserpate. Reserpine on metabolism it gives methyl reserpate and trimethoxybenzoic acid. Okay, these two are the metabolites which are formed from reserpine. But one drawback is there with reserpine. On long time usage of reserpine, suicidal tendencies develop. Okay, that is one of the adverse effect we can see with reserpine. Next drug is guanethidine monosulfate. This is the structure, and this one is called guanidine. Coming to the mode of action, it is an adrenergic blocking agent and it prevents the release of norepinephrine from postganglionic neurons in response to adrenergic stimulation. Okay, whenever impulse is generated, automatically concentration of the release of catecholamines occurs, but here after impulse generation also it inhibits the release of norepinephrine from postganglionic neurons, and it does not interfere with the release of epinephrine from adrenal medulla. Okay, it releases into the synaptic cleft. The released catecholamines bind with receptors in postganglionic region, and then only the pharmacological actions are exhibited. But here after reaching the impulse or after stimulation, here it prevents the release of norepinephrine from postganglionic neurons. Okay, whenever stimulus is there, in that condition, general normal process release of catecholamines from postganglionic neurons occurs. But whenever this guanethidine drug is administered, after getting stimulation also there is no release of catecholamines. Coming to metabolism, This drug undergo metabolism in the liver by phase 1 process first. In phase 1, it undergo metabolism by oxidation process and it is converting into guanethylene N oxide. It means N oxidation occurs. Okay, O oxidation is there, N oxidation is there. This drug mainly undergo N oxidation and it is converting into guanethylene N oxide. And another one, this is called guanethylene 2-carboxyhexylamino ethyl guanidine. Here cleavage occurs. Okay, so this guanethylene N oxide is the major metabolite which is formed from guanethylene on oxidation. So this guanethylene N oxide is eliminated from the body in the form of urine. Next category is called direct vasodilators. Example for direct vasodilators: hydralazine, minoxidil. You can write. Hydralazine is the best example, and the basic nucleus of this is the structure of hydralazine. It contains hydrazine as the side chain. This is called hydrazine. Okay, and the basic nucleus of hydralazine is called phthalazine. How the drug is named as hydralazine means just by combining both basic nucleus name and drug name. See, up to here. Okay, just they fused the first part of the side chain, that is hydra, and the last part of the basic nucleus, that is lazine. Just by combining we will get the name hydralazine. The basic nucleus of hydralazine is phthalazine and it is having a side chain, that is NH2 NH2, that is hydrazine. This is belong to category direct vasodilator, and it is direct arteriolar vasodilator. Again, vasodilators are two types: arterial vasodilator, venous vasodilator, and another one is mixed. It means it can act on both arterial and venous. But here this hydralazine is belong to the category arteriolar vasodilator. It means it can dilate arteries only without affecting any action on blood vessels or veins. See, it causes direct relaxation of vascular smooth muscles by increasing concentration of CGMP. CGMP means cyclic guanine monophosphate. Okay, whenever CGMP or how the CGMP is produced means in presence of guanine cyclase enzyme, this GTP is converting into CGMP. Okay, guanine cyclase enzyme is present in vascular smooth muscles. Okay, that enzyme converts GTP to CGMP. The concentration of CGMP is high. Relaxation of vessels occurs. Okay, whenever blood vessels are relaxed, automatically dilatation occurs. Relaxation or dilatation of blood vessels. So thereby you can improve the blood flow. Coming to the uses, it is mainly used for the management of essential hypertension or severe hypertension, okay, associated with conditions requiring immediate action or heart failure and preeclampsia or eclampsia. Okay, generally this is used, this direct arteriolar vasodilator is used in emergency cases of hypertension. Another drug belong to this arteriolar dilators or vasodilators is sodium nitroprusside. This is the structure of sodium nitroprusside, Na2FeCN6NO2H2O. That is the structure. It is one of the most potent blood pressure lowering drugs. Okay, this is very potent and it is limited in the control of BP because of its short duration of action. Okay, after administering the sodium nitroprusside, the pharmacological action, that is hypertension, is reduced within 30 minutes. it is both arteriolar and venous vasodilator. Okay, it can exhibit their action both on arteries and veins. Coming to the mode of action, how this drug is exhibiting that antihypertensive effect is, here if you see the structure, NO group is there. Okay, first sodium nitroprusside is converting into nitric oxide free radicals. Okay, this nitric oxide free radicals increases the concentration of or activates the enzyme guanine cyclase. This GC helps in conversion of GTP to CGMP. If sufficient amount of cyclic guanosine monophosphate is available, relaxation of blood vessels occurs. So the main one is nitric oxide free radical. It elevates cellular levels of CGMP. Next, it is metabolized by the liver yielding thiocyanate. The cyanide which is present in the drug, on metabolism, it is converting into thiocyanate, SCN derivative. But these thiocyanates are accumulated in the kidney and they are causing thiocyanate toxicity. If the drug is given to the patients who are having renal complications, the problem of the renal toxicity is further enhanced. So, this drug should not be given to the patients those who are having renal complications. Care should be taken while prescribing this type of drugs. Next category is potassium channel agonist or openers. These are the examples: diazoxide, minoxidil, nicorandil. These drugs activate ATP sensitive potassium channels, which leads to decrease in calcium and reduces the excitability of the neurons. Okay, potassium channel agonist or potassium channel opener. Okay, it means it opens the potassium channels. Whenever potassium channels are open, inflow of potassium ion occurs and efflux of calcium ions occurs. So, if calcium ions are in very less, contraction is automatically less and relaxation of the muscles occurs. That is the mode of action. See here, potassium channels are open, leads to decrease in calcium ion concentration and reduces the excitability of the neurons. See, at which place these potassium channels were observed? They are mainly present in membrane of the vascular smooth muscles, causing hyperpolarization of voltage sensitive membrane. Okay, thereby it closes calcium channels. So, decrease in concentration of calcium ions, which leads to relaxation followed by vasodilation. Okay, potassium channels are present in membrane of the vascular smooth muscles. Drugs like diazoxide, minoxidil, nicorandil, after administration, it will bind with potassium channels and it increases the concentration of potassium ions, so thereby hyperpolarization occurs. Okay, positive ion concentration is more, which leads to hyperpolarization. So, whenever hyperpolarization is there, automatically closing of calcium channels occurs. So, which results in decrease in concentration of calcium. So, relaxation and followed by vasodilation of the blood vessels occurs. So, whenever blood vessels are vasodilated or dilatation occurs, resulting blood pressure. Coming to the first example, minoxidil. Okay, this is the structure of minoxidil. This basic nucleus is called pyrimidine. Pyrimidine means a 6-member ring having 2 nitrogens at 1 and 3 position. Okay, if it is a 5-member ring, then it is called imidazole. Coming to the IUPAC name, see here. If you see numbering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, at second and fourth position, two amine groups are there. See, 2,4-diamino. At sixth position, piperidine. This ring is called piperidine. So 2,4-diamino, 6-piperidino. The basic nucleus pyrimidine. At third position, oxide is there. So 3-oxide. This is the IUPAC name of minoxidil. It is not active hypotensive agent until it is metabolized by hepatic sulfotransferases. Means the drug is inactive. Okay, when it exhibits activity means when it undergoes metabolism. After entering into the liver, after metabolism only, it is converting into active metabolite. The active metabolite which is formed from minoxidil is called minoxidil NO sulfate. Okay, which is responsible for pharmacological activity of the drug. And how it undergoes metabolism means by sulfotransferase enzyme. Okay, oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis is there. Another one is phase 2, conjugation reactions occurs. Here the drug undergo sulfotransferation. In presence of sulfotransferase enzyme, sulfur moiety is attached to the minoxidil structure. See here. Minoxidil in presence of sulfotransferase enzyme. See, sulfur is transferred to the oxygen, then it is converting into minoxidil NO sulfate, which is active metabolite. Further, it undergoes metabolism by glucuronide conjugation. In glucuronide conjugation, glucuronic acid is attached to the oxygen. Then the resulting structure is called minoxidil NO glucuronide. But this is inactive metabolite. But the active metabolite is minoxidil NO sulfate. NO sulfate means oxygen which is there on the nitrogen undergo reaction here. So minoxidil NO sulfate is the active metabolite which is responsible for pharmacological activity of minoxidil. Hence this minoxidil is called prodrug. Prodrug means drug is inactive, after metabolism only releases active metabolite. Coming to the uses, minoxidil is used for severe hypertension like vasodilators, okay, this minoxidil is also used in severe hypertension cases. That is difficult to control with other antihypertensives. Other antihypertensives means either central acting agents or adrenergic neuronal blockers or calcium channel blockers or diuretics. Okay, if those drugs are ineffective, in such conditions we can give minoxidil. It causes sodium and water retention. Okay, why this is used in severe cases means there are some adverse effects we can see with potassium channel openers. Water retention, sodium retention occurs. What happens if sodium and water is retained in the body? It may lead to edema. This is another problem. So we can give this minoxidil along with the diuretic to prevent this edema or retention. Next, it also causes reflex tachycardia. Reflex tachycardia means increase in heartbeat. Mainly this drug minoxidil is used to stimulate regrowth of hair in patients with androgenic alopecia. Androgenic alopecia is nothing but baldness, hereditary baldness. Okay, for treatment of hereditary baldness, this drug is effectively used rather than antihypertensive agent, because there is no specific or super drug for treatment of baldness. How it improves hair growth means by stimulating. See, it is believed to increase cutaneous blood flow. It improves blood flow on the skin, thereby hair growth occurs or it regenerates hair growth, which results in treatment of alopecia. So the main use of minoxidil is, it is one of the drug used for treatment of androgenic alopecia rather than as antihypertensive agent. It is used but in emergency cases. Next drug is diazoxide. This is the basic structure. The structure of diazoxide is similar as that of diuretics. That is called thiazide diuretics. This is the IUPAC name 7-chloro 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At 7th position chlorine is there, at 3rd position methyl is there. 7 chloro, 3 methyl, 2H, 1, 2, 4. At 1st position sulfur is there, at 2nd position nitrogen, 4th position nitrogen. The basic nucleus is benzothiodiazine. So 7 chloro, 3 methyl, 2H, 1, 2, 4 benzothiodiazine, 1, 1 dioxide. That is the name of the diazoxide, IUPAC name. This structure is similar as that of thiazide diuretics. That's why this is called non-diuretic hypotensive agent. But it is not having any diuretic action. But structure is similar. But it has hypotensive action. Hypotensive action means it reduces blood pressure. It is des-sulfomoyl analog of the benzothiazine diuretics. Des-sulfomoyl means it is not having SO2 and H2 group, which has a close structural similar to chlorothiazide. It is a non-diuretic hypotensive agent, increases blood glucose concentration. That is one of the adverse effects we can see with the diazoxides. 30 to 50% of the drugs are eliminated as unchanged, so remaining may undergo biotransformation. It means 50% of the drug is excreted in unchanged form. It means it is having protein binding. 50% of the drug undergo metabolism. Uses, it is intended for short-term use in hospitalized patients only. This is used for the hospitalized or inpatients, those who are suffering with severe hypertension. Why? Because the drug increases the concentration of glucose, which may result in diabetes. It is hyperglycemic, and sodium retaining effects make it unsuitable for chronic therapy also. It is used only in acute conditions. Next, it is administered orally in management of hypoglycemic condition. The adverse effect can be used as a beneficiary way. Okay, hypoglycemic condition means fall in sugar level. Okay, in such conditions we can improve the sugar level by giving a drug called diazoxide, because it is having hyperglycemic effect. This is one of the advantages with this. Okay, generally this drug is used for hospitalized patients and it is only used in acute cases. In chronic cases it is ineffective because it is having hyperglycemic action and sodium retaining effects. This is the metabolism of diazoxide. See, methyl group is there. That methyl group undergo metabolism by a process called phase 1, that is hydroxylation. Okay, in hydroxylation this methyl group is converting into CH2OH. Further it undergo oxidation and finally converting into acid. Okay, this is the metabolite which is formed from diazoxide. This is having more water solubility when compared with the drug. In this way diazoxide is eliminated from the body. Okay, along with the drugs we can reduce the load of drugs by using some natural methods. Okay, there are some another ways to treat hypertension, that is physical exercise. Okay, by improving the exercise or by doing the exercise also we can reduce elevated blood pressure. Next, weight loss. Okay, the person is obese, there may be a chance for getting hypertension. Okay, by maintaining proper diet, by doing exercise, we can reduce the weight, thereby we can reduce the elevated blood pressure also. Next, salt restriction. Okay, main sodium present, excess amount of sodium is also responsible for rising blood pressure. By reducing the amount of sodium in the diet also we can reduce elevated blood pressure. Next, avoid smoking, reducing alcohol consumption, relaxation techniques. Relaxation, this is very one of the wonderful technique, because with the help of this relaxation techniques we can free from the stress. Okay, different types of stress is there: mental stress, physical stress, emotional stress. All these stresses will be reduced by following some relaxation techniques. Next, potassium rich diets. Potassium rich diets like taking coconut water, banana, or eating cabbage, spinach, all these foods. And next, red meat should be avoided. By using any one of these techniques along with antihypertensive agents, we can reduce the elevated blood pressure. and these are the formulations which are available in the market. The main one is Amlopras 80. Okay, in this case, if you see, in antihypertensive agents, there is no single drug. Generally, we are giving the drugs in combination. It is completely depending on the severity of the hypertension. Primary hypertension is there, secondary is there, essential hypertension is there. If the hypertension is excess or more, in such cases, we'll give combination of the drugs to get better pharmacological result. Amlodipine, atenolol. Okay, this is Amlopras 80. Next, in this case, here amlodipine chlorothiazide. Here losartan and hydrochlorothiazide. And enalapril maleate, hydrochlorothiazide. Okay, different types of combinations are available. Mainly they contain, one drug is diuretic. Why diuretic is preferred means to prevent the accumulation of water and sodium level. Okay, these are the references. William Foyer, Wilson and Giswald Textbook of Organic Medicinal and Pharmaceutical Chemistry, and for synthesis, Medicinal Chemistry by Astoshkar. Okay, these are the common marketed antihypertensive drugs which are available. In all the drugs, they are present in combination. It means they contain 2 drugs or 3 drugs from different classes. In most of the cases, diuretics are the one of the common drug. Why diuretics are used means to prevent the accumulation of water and sodium in the body. In this case, we are taking amlodipine, means calcium channel blocker, along with atenolol. Atenolol is a beta blocker. And here, this is losartan and amlodipine. Means potassium losartan is angiotensin II receptor antagonist and calcium channel blocker. In this case, losartan, potassium and hydrochlorothiazide tablets. Angiotensin II receptor antagonist followed by diuretic. Here enalapril maleate, captopril, enalapril, all these are ACE inhibitors. ACE inhibitor along with thiazide diuretics. Okay, combination of drugs were preferred in majority of the cases for treatment of hypertension to get maximum pharmacological action with the minimum side effects. Okay, these are the references. For mode of actions, chemistry, and for structures, medicinal chemistry by William Foyer and Wilson and Giswald textbook. For synthesis, medicinal chemistry by Astoshkar. Okay, thank you.